And my dog's barking right away. Welcome to Moose Milk Podcast, episode 10. Tonight we are doing our top 5 comic book movies in general. Not just MCU, not just DC, anything we want. We can pull from anything. And yeah, it should be a fun one. Just waiting for Matt to join. And yeah, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Friday night, having some beers, talk some movies, waiting for Falcon and Winter Soldier to start. There's Matt's request, and here we go. Buddy.
Hello.
What's on?
Not much, man. How are you?
I'm good. My dog's already being a dickhead, so you know.
Your dog's a head?
See, my dog's already being an ass.
Oh, yeah, that's all right. That's what happens when you have a dachshund.
Yeah. He literally barks at everything.
Yeah, I know. It's hard because like we live in like a wood frame condo, so we kind of like you can kind of hear, especially anytime someone's like hitting a wall or something. It's like we can hear everything, right?
Yeah.
And the last 2 days we live right on the end of the hall, so we got the stairway right next to ours. And they've been doing all the drywall repairs because it's about a year in, so like all the drywall starts to crack and stuff, right? Because we're on like a mountain. So they come in and they fix it like after about a year. So they've been in there for the last 2 days, and Homer just spends the whole day just like barking. It's so fucking annoying. Like I love my dog, but like, oh my God, I want to fucking kill him sometimes.
Yeah, it's been like pretty nice weather here for like the last week.
Yeah, you guys had nice weather.
Yeah, so everybody's outside, like kids playing and like neighbors working on cars and shit like that. Yeah. So basically the entire day I'm trying to sleep, he's at the window barking at people outside. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun. I gotta admit, I'm so happy he's here.
Hi, Finnegan, little cutie.
All right, I don't want to waste any time tonight.
Yeah, we can't waste time. There's a lot to do.
Into this, and we only have an hour.
We only have an hour. We have lots to talk about. So do you want to tell everyone what we're talking about tonight? Even if your story made me laugh so hard.
We did our top 5 comic book movies. We have a few honorable mentions each. It doesn't have to be MCU, doesn't have to be DC. Can pull from literally any comic book adaptation that has been done. I wanted to open it up to everything just so that we could have the same list. If we just did MCU, me and Matt's list would be very similar.
Basically the same.
Yeah, so I wanted to open up to everything.
I just want to state that my whole list is entirely DC movies.
You're too bad of a liar. I know that's not true.
It's all DC movies. I don't even think I can name 7 DC movies.
Yes, you could.
I know. I just try to put them out of my mind. Batman 1 through 7. That's it.
That's all you need. Do you want to start with honorable mentions?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I can start if you want.
Do it up, buddy.
Okay, so what do we do? For honorable mentions, are we just going to say 3 and...
Yeah, I did 3.
Okay. Am I just banging out 3 in a row, or are we doing back and forth?
Yeah, bang 3 out in a row if you want.
All right. Okay, so for my honorable mentions, I had a hard time narrowing this down. I talked to Ryan the other day, and I said I was stuck on 9. So to get it down to 7 was a little bit, or 8 was a little bit tricky. So my honorable mentions are the first Kick-Ass movie, Avengers, the first Avengers, and Civil War. Also, hey BC Sasquatch, what's up? It's Jay. Living in my hood. But yeah, those are my 3. And to be honest with you, the one that was really hard to like put on honorable mention was Kick-Ass. The other 2, like, you know, I think a lot of the MCUs for me are really swappable. Like there's a few that are just really, really awesome. And then there's a few, or like a good chunk of them that are just like, this is all kind of the same, just a little bit different. Yeah. And it's like, that works for me because they're all great, but they're like, but yeah, so
I had the same
Avengers,
problem.
Yeah.
I mean, like Winter Soldier is one of my absolute favorite, MCU movies, but it didn't make the list just because there's too many bigger ones that I needed to include. So it was like, it sucks on a day where my mood is different.
Yeah,
where Pilgrim would be in the top 5, and it's just that this was my mood today, and this isn't discounting movies that didn't make the list, but
it's funny because I started my list on Sunday. Like we knew we were going to do this even like last week, we knew, right? But like I started it on Sunday, and I bet you I made like a drastic change every day or every, maybe I missed one day, but like, yeah, it's just like you said, it really just depends on where I'm at and like, what I'm into at the moment. Right. So, but there are I would say like my top 2 are like pretty definitive. Like they're pretty much always in those top 2 spots for me.
Same.
Yeah.
But like I said, like it depends on my mood. If I'm in the mood for more of a comedy, I'd change my top 5 probably. And if I was in the mood for more of an action, just like balls to the walls, fun film, I'd probably change my top 5 again. So it definitely is mood dependent, day dependent, so on and so forth. I mean, I'm not discrediting any movies out of, they didn't make my top 5 doesn't mean they're a bad movie. They might be in my top 10.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my honorable mentions were Kick-Ass as well. I love that movie. Directed by Matthew Vaughn. Awesome fucking film. Kingsman: The Secret Service.
Nah, that's a good one too.
Also directed by Matthew Vaughn. Really, really solid flick. And Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Directed by Edgar Wright. I love that film. It's a great adaptation. It's super underrated. It didn't make any money back. Like it was a box office failure completely, but it definitely deserves more people to enjoy it and love it. And any of those 3 movies I highly recommend.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great picks. I kind of forgot all about Kingsman. The second one like just killed that movie.
Second one sucked.
Like it was just it made me forget how good the first one was. And then like I said, Kick-Ass for me. Like there's something great about the funny. Like it's funny, but it's also like pretty like violent, which is also like really great and
it's super violent. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I love the idea of just like an everyman, because like I think me and you have had this conversation. But how many times have you been like, oh man, how sick would it be to be like a superhero?
All the time, dude. All the time. Like,
and it's like that's exactly it. It's like the king of failure too, right? He just like it's like he sucks
all the time.
It's like he sucks so bad, but he like wants to do so well, right? So it's like it's great. It's a great one.
Anytime I see tall buildings, I pretend I'm Spider-Man and I could just like web up to the top of the building and it'd be awesome. So like 100%.
I can't tell you how many times I've had a scene in my mind me just jump off my balcony, especially when I was in the city when I lived downtown.
Yeah, man. So, I love all those movies, and those are all good choices. And if anybody hasn't seen any of those movies, go seek them out.
I agree.
They're awesome.
So let's get into our top 5 because we're going to run out of time.
Yeah. Do your number 5.
Okay, so my number 5 is not an MCU movie.
Shocking.
A movie that like I go way the fuck back on, and it's like hardcore nostalgia for me. So my number 5 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one.
I was gonna put that in my honorable mentions, and it just missed out. That was my number 9.
Like I love this movie for a lot of reasons. For one, I was a hardcore fan of the Turtles cartoon. I collected all the toys when I was a kid. And then when this movie came out, it was just really cool because it was like a darker take on one of these properties that was always super colorful to me. It was very cartoony, and this really wasn't anything like that. And to me, like, it was kind of cool because I only really knew Ninja Turtles from the cartoon. So like, once this kind of came into it and everything, like it kind of opened me up to like a different world than Ninja Turtles, right? And seeing all these different iterations out there, it's not just like funny pizza cowabunga kind of thing, right? Like, but yeah, I thought it was really well done, and I thought like they looked great, and I thought like especially for the time, like their face, like everything looked like pretty like fluid considering, you know, that it was like 1990. But yeah, I have a lot of love for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was, yeah, like I said, it was one of those things where like as a kid, it was super easy to get into because it's like 4 characters. So when you're playing with your friends, it's like, you know, everybody kind of has a little bit of one of the turtles in them, right? Like,
yeah.
So
I totally agree with you. I mean, just loving that animated series and then seeing like a live action version of that like blew my mind as a kid. Like there was nothing like it at the time where I was like, wow, like this is an older version of this series that like definitely was beyond my age when I seen it, but like seeing Casey Jones like just go at it with Raphael in the park was like one of my favorite scenes in the entire film.
Casey Jones, that was a whole other fucking bag of worms. Like that was just like it was so sick to get them, and Shredder too. Like honestly, it's like Shredder was like actually imposing. Like it was like it was so cool and it was so different and it was just awesome. I have to say that we're actually getting some really awesome kind of comments down, like just like people kind of chatting down on the chat. That's kind of cool. I usually don't, for some reason, when I join a lot of times, I can't see the comments. I can't see like the number of people in the room. It's weird. Like it just freezes when I come in and it doesn't stop. But now I'm actually seeing people chat. So I see that fucking masterpiece. That's Chris. He's said a great pick. Thanks, man.
It's definitely like a movie that I wish we would have gotten. Like, I mean, I love TMNT too. Like Secret of the Ooze, I think is awesome as well.
Me too.
And I hated the third one. Like I thought the third one.
I hate the third one too. But you know what though? I have to say, so I recently rewatched both Ninja Turtles 1 and 2, and I did it after watching a video. Somebody did a video on like Ninja Turtles 2, and there were so many things that I never fucking realized. Like without even like I still enjoyed it, but like in that movie, the Turtles in Secret of the Ooze, the Turtles don't use their weapons on anybody, not even once.
No, I know they didn't want them to actually.
Donnie uses his bow, but
yeah, they didn't want them to actually hurt anybody, right? Like that was the biggest problem. Is this is what I've always said, and like I know this will never happen, but to see like a violent rated R film of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where like they could actually use their weapons and like decapitate people and
amazing.
Like
that'd be so fucking awesome.
Like graphic adult version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like I think that's the direction they need to go, and I think that movie would make a fortune. It's because everybody that grew up with the Turtles, everybody that grew up with the Turtles is now our age.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if kids are really into the Turtles anymore. But
I agree with you. I don't think it does what it did before.
To see like an aged up version of like the Turtles live action, like more like the original 3 films and not like the new 2 films that were like really cheesy and not very well done. And I mean, they just, I don't know. As soon as I heard Johnny Knoxville as Leonardo, I was like, yeah, this is not going to be a good film.
Out of here. All I'll say on anything other than those first 2 movies is like, yeah, just no. Like they're not good. But I do agree that getting a dark and gritty Ninja Turtles movie now would be sick, as long as it's not CGI. Like I would want practical costumes, even if it was practical costumes with CGI added onto it, like they kind of do with the MCU stuff, right?
Totally agree. Like, give me Casey Jones. Like that was my biggest disappointment with Secret of the Ooze is there was no Casey Jones in it.
Me too.
I think that would have been just that much better of a film. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think that's a series that needs to be brought back. I think it could make a fortune. And yeah,
if it was done the right way, because like right now, I know you don't really do comics and stuff, but have you heard of the Last Ronin?
No.
So it's ongoing. I think they're only 3 issues in or 2 issues in, but basically it catches up with the Turtles in like the future, where it's not the Turtles anymore. It's just one. So all the brothers have been killed except one.
That's dope.
And he wears a black mask and he carries all their weapons. I won't say who it is because it's like a relatively big spoiler for the book, but you should check it out. It's pretty fucking cool.
That's
and
really
like
cool.
right now they're like going through like how each respective brother died.
That's awesome.
And it's pretty fucking cool, dude. But it's like super slow going. I think it's taken like 7 months to get like 2 issues out. Like it's been.
Oh, that's it's a little slow, but
yeah.
I'll wait
but
until
once
it's like done,
exactly.
collected, and
Yeah. So that was my 5. So
very nice.
Your 5. Let's see if this makes my list. It probably will. Fucker.
My 5th is Thor Ragnarok.
Oh yeah, that's online.
Directed by Taika Waititi, came out November 3rd, 2017. I love this movie. It's the best Thor movie by far. It has every element I want in a Thor movie. Like Thor's a badass in it. He's using lightning. He's using the hammer. It has comedy sections. The Hulk is cool in it. Jeff Goldblum is hilarious in it.
Oh, so good.
It's exactly what I want out of it. It rejuvenated the series. It rejuvenated the character, in my opinion, because I think the first 2 Thor movies are generally pretty frowned upon.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't wait for.
Me neither. For Thor.
Yeah, I mean, recently they came out with the pictures of Natalie Portman all jacked for the new movie.
She looks like a professional wrestler.
She's huge.
Yeah.
Like, she clearly took this role serious, and I love Natalie Portman. So, I mean...
yes, you are a Natalie Portman fan. I recall that.
Yeah, she's awesome. So, I mean, I hope she kills the character and just absolutely, like, owns the movie, and it carries on with Natalie Portman as female Thor. Like, I'm in,
Yeah, I'm... Like I said, I don't write it off at this point, because anything they do, even if it's a story that I didn't care for in the comics, at this point, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're kind of knocking it out of the park, right? So,
yeah, 100%. And like Taika Waititi is one of my favorite directors right now. I mean, he's awesome. So he's great. Just the way he writes.
You just saw Jojo Rabbit, right? Like you just watched that?
I just watched Jojo Rabbit. Jojo Rabbit's awesome.
Yep.
I'm watching all his movies right now. I bought every single movie he's done, so I'm slowly going through those. But like even What We Do in the Shadows is like an amazing film.
Awesome movie.
Very, very dry humor, but like very, very funny. So I mean, anybody that hasn't seen that movie, I highly recommend that too. But
I would also highly recommend it. It's very fucking funny.
Thor Ragnarok, I think it's awesome. It's actually surprising that it's this low in my list, because I really do love this movie, but when you open it up to all comic book adaptations, this is where it's at. Like on a different day, it could be 3 or whatever, but it was hard to rank them. Like that was the hardest part for me.
I agree. Well, this one has always held a place in my heart, so I won't get too into it until it gets to me on my list, because it will. But I'm a huge Thor Ragnarok fan. So
good, dude.
Yeah, it's so good.
Number 4.
All right, so my number 4 is probably going to be a repeat for you, because maybe it'll be number 4, and that would just work out perfectly. So my number 4 is Captain America: Winter Soldier. I love the movie. It's like kind of it's the first time where like I kind of really started to get attached to like Chris Evans as Captain America, which is funny because again, like I have no attachment to Captain America from the comics. I know who he is, but like I was always an X-Men Spider-Man kind of guy. So like, Captain America didn't really do anything for me in the comics. I mean, he's fine, but like, wasn't really, would have never even been in my top 20 probably, right? Like,
no, totally, I get it.
Yeah, but like this is kind of one of the first kind of like favorites that I had in the MCU, right? Like I Cap, and like this movie like really cemented that for me, right? Like it was exciting. It was like there was lots of twists and plot turns, and like Black Widow or Scarlett Johansson was awesome in it, and and like I love that dynamic between him and Bucky, especially when like he kind of discovers who he is. Like it was it was like one of those big twists, right? That you don't, and it was good, man. It was great.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie, man.
I love that movie as well. It's not in my list. It would have been, like I said, If this
If it
was
was
just a pure MCU list,
yeah.
it would be in my top 5. It's an excellent film, and like I didn't really like the first Captain America movie. I thought it was pretty meh.
Yeah, me too.
This movie blew it out of the water for me. Like that elevator scene when he's taking on like the 6 dudes in the elevator.
That's great.
It's just badass as fuck. That car chase scene with Samuel L. Jackson driving the SUV is just awesome. Like, the movie is so well done in so many different parts that, like, it has plot twists. It has awesome characters. I love it, and like I really hope that it's a sign of what Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to be. Is like
me too.
Great action scenes, awesome badass fighting scenes. Like I just want like a pure action show that like blows me away, and I really hope that that's what it is.
It's funny you say that because me and my buddy were talking today about it, and he said, as much as I liked WandaVision, he's like, I'm excited to have just some like standard Marvel action, like with this next one, right? So, and I agree, I am too. Like, I'm ready to see some, what we're used to from the MCU stuff, right?
1,000%.
So, and again, right? Like, I know I've said this on here before, but like, I love Falcon in the MCU. Which again, I literally have zero attachment to that character in the comics.
Same.
But yeah, I love Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson. He's super fun. And I don't know if you saw, they released today like a little teaser or something, or maybe it was yesterday, but it's basically like a back and forth between Bucky and Falcon, and they're talking about the big 3. It's like androids, aliens, and wizards. And and then Bucky's like, well, what about Doctor Strange? And he's like, he's a sorcerer. He's like, a sorcerer is a wizard without a hat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it reminds me
of like Clerks 2 when they're talking about Lord of the Rings.
Totally. It looks fun, man. I'm super excited.
That's awesome. I'm very excited for next week to talk about that first episode.
Me too.
I think it's gonna be really good.
Yep. Did you watch the making of WandaVision, by the way?
No, I haven't.
I watched a little bit of it. It was pretty good. I'm probably going to finish it tonight.
I've actually been obsessed with Ink Master. It's a reality show.
Isn't there like 18 seasons of that or something?
There's, I think, 14 seasons. I've watched 3 in a week. It's really good. It makes me really want to go get a tattoo. I've always wanted to get a tattoo, but I'm too big of a wuss to actually go get a tattoo.
You should get tattoos.
I know. I've always wanted one, and I know I love yours, but I just haven't been able to do it. I'm terrified of needles, so.
It's not the same needle. I used to be terrified of needles, but it's not really the same.
I know.
It's just a needle based on what it looks like. All the other properties of it are very different. I always say it's like someone dragging like a blade through your skin. Like imagine like a box cutter.
That doesn't make it better.
I know it doesn't make it better. I'm just saying it's not a needle. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but that sounds terrible too.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely want to get it done at some point, and I'm definitely going to do it. I gotta just get over that hill in my head,
Yeah, man. Okay, you should do your 4th because we're already halfway through.
Yeah. My 4th is going to be Avengers End Game. I feel like it's kind of a cheat because obviously it was a coalition of 20 plus movies. I'm
just gonna interject really quick and just say that my number 3 is End Game. So let's just have a talk about this. This works.
Perfect. So yes, I feel like it's kind of a cheat because like if you haven't seen the previous 20 plus movies, it's gonna mean less to you. But like
totally.
This was the first movie, like, really, that made me, like, bawl in the theaters. Like, the attachment I had to these characters, it all coalesced, whatever. The all coming to a head in this film was, like, it was just emotional for me. And seeing these characters just all work together. And, I mean, it was directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, who also did, Winter Soldier and everything like that, and Infinity War. And they're awesome directors. And I can't wait to see what they do next outside of MCU, but like
the Mutants, come on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome too. But
that'd be sick. I'd be so happy if they took that.
I think it's just one of the best comic book adaptations, and like
I agree.
I felt like it was a cheat because you need to see the other movies to make it feel as good as it does. But when you have that attachment to all the previous films, it's just, it kills you.
Yeah, I think that I agree. I don't think that you fully need the full story. I think if you could have just seen Infinity War, you would have way more context than you need. But that being said, if you were a fan since the very beginning, there's so much payoff here. Like there's just
so much payoff.
There's so much, and there's so much good like storytelling and development, and they balance all those different storylines so harmoniously, and it's awesome. Like it's so well done. And I agree with you. Like don't get me wrong, like especially as I've gotten older, I find that I'm definitely a lot more emotional when I watch shit. Like even the other night I watched I went to movies the other night, and then we came home and watched Clerks 2, and then afterwards I watched Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and like, because like I've seen it once or something, and it was like fine. Like I don't like love it, but it's
I didn't like it.
Yeah, but at the end when Jay is like sitting with his daughter and he like talks about Silent Bob, he's like, "Oh, you got to find a friend that has your back even though he's by your side," or something like that, right? And I just like I like started to cry, and I'm just like, seriously? But but it's just like, you know what I mean? So but
I really didn't like it, and I really like found it to be just basically a copy of Jay and Silent Bob. And I mean, I know that's kind of the joke.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't it like kind of the meta bit about it? Isn't that like kind of the point?
It
like,
is.
They keep making like, jokes about reboots and remakes.
It is, but it just didn't make me laugh. Like, I was just like, yeah, well, this is obvious. Like, we've had 100,000 reboots at this point. Like, you're not telling me anything new.
It reminded me of them trying way too hard to make it funny.
Yes.
It's like a bunch of old guys who like really look pretty haggard at this point.
Very haggard.
Yeah.
This is like what I think it's going to be Jackass
from like
4.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That's like geriatric Jackass.
Those guys are haggard as shit. They all look like they've been through a war, and they're all like in their 40s and 50s now. Like I can't see how you're going to do a Jackass 4 and make it, anything good. I mean, Bam has major alcohol problems, and I don't know. It's just, I have a feeling that movie's gonna be really bad. But
yeah, I don't have high hopes. But we should keep talking about Endgame because there's still lots we can talk about there.
Yes, there sure is. We could go down
that. But what I was saying, going in terms of like the crying thing, was like, you're right. This movie made like. I fucking bawled during this movie like a few times. I even got emotional when Captain America finally said Avengers Assemble.
That's where I first started crying. Like, as soon as he said that, I just started bawling. And then the rest of the movie, I basically was just crying constantly.
It was just ongoing, yeah.
Because it was like scene after scene where I was just like, oh, that's awesome, start crying again. And then it was like, oh, that's really sad, start crying again. Like, it just didn't stop. Yeah, and it was just such a mix of emotions that like it was exhausting. Like when I left that theater, I was just like, I can't see that movie again in theaters because it's just emotionally like defeating. Like I've only watched it twice.
I think I saw it 3 times in the theater in the first 4 days.
Well, I couldn't do it.
I think I went Thursday night, Friday night, Monday. I think I went. So 5 days.
It just wore me out. Like I was just like, defeated after that movie. I was just like, it went through a battle for me. It was awesome.
There's so many things to see. It's so well
directed. It's such great action scenes.
Yep.
And
story.
It's everything I wanted in a movie. Like it's everything I wanted in a comic book movie.
I agree. And it was hard for me to make a decision between Endgame and Infinity War, but now that I've like kind of like had the time to like digest it all, I kind of feel more Endgame just because I don't know, like I felt like I got closure on a bunch of stuff, and I thought it was like the thing I really loved about Infinity War was that it ends in it's like Empire Strikes Back, like it's like not a happy ending. And I actually love those kind of movies.
Same.
Because I didn't expect the outcome to be great for the good guys, but I didn't expect that to happen. Like when I saw it, I was like, "What the fuck?"
And it sucked waiting a year to see what would happen after that.
Sure did.
And, like, it says something about nerd culture that this is the highest grossing film of all time worldwide. Like,
I agree.
It shows how much people love this film. To make $2.8 billion, like, that tells you something. That's a lot of fucking money, and that's a lot of ticket sales, and a lot of people love this film. So I mean, props to the nerd culture, props to the people that love this film, because obviously it's one of the most beloved films of all time, or it wouldn't have made that kind of money.
All I can say is that if you were able to time travel when we were like fucking in grade like 8, and we could go and watch that movie, imagine how amazing it would be to like that lead up. Like imagine think like, okay, when's this shit going down?
It would have been wild. I could not imagine being a young kid today, like,
and getting to experience that.
Well, not just that, but you have more toys at your exposure. You have all the technology, the video games, like everything. Like, yeah, like there's never been more nerd culture stuff in any time in our lives right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, man. Do you want me to jump to number 3?
Yeah, jump to your 3.
All right, so obviously Matt's number 3 was also End Game, so I'll go back to me, and my number 3 is Logan. Directed by James Mangold. It's the best X-Men movie we've ever had. It's the best Wolverine movie we may ever get. It's rated R. It's uber violent. It's exactly what I want out of a Wolverine movie. To finally see him, ripping off limbs with his blades, like, it's exactly what I want out of a Wolverine movie. I loved it. It made me cry.
I didn't realize that was that place that high on your list. I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, like it was really hard for me to put it number 3. Like I really wanted to put it number 1, but I had to argue with myself for multiple days.
I feel like I know your next 2. I feel like I got them.
I'll be very curious. I'll let you predict.
Okay. We'll wait till we finish talking about this one though.
Yeah, I just my hopes is that we do get X-Men on that level at some point again. Like, I was really disappointed right after this film. They talked about doing an X-23 movie, and I would have really loved to see an X-23 movie because the actress that plays X-23 in the movie, Laura
Kinney?
Yeah, her name's Daphne Keane.
Yeah.
She's an incredible actress. Like, she killed that fucking role.
She sure did.
I would love to see her return to the role, and I really hope that somebody at Marvel or Disney or whatever wants to put her back in an Avengers or a future Avengers or a future X-Men or something movie, because she deserves it. But everything about this movie I love. Like, seeing Patrick Stewart return as like a very sickly Xavier was awesome.
Yep.
Everything about this movie was just well done. I loved it. It's violent. It's awesome. It's exactly what I wanted out of a Wolverine movie.
For me, it's funny because Wolverine's my favorite character. It took me a long time to get over I always liked Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but I know we've talked about this, but the reason why I didn't like the original X-Men movies or any of them really was I just felt like it was they took the idea of what a character was and then they just made it a new character. It's this is Wolverine featuring some of Wolverine's kind of character traits and likenesses, and I just felt like the characters were so not true to source, and it just didn't it was a humongous letdown to me. I remember watching it and then I don't think I watched it again for another 2 years or 3 years. I didn't follow those movies. I don't even think I saw X-Men. I think I did see X-Men 1 in theater, but I don't think I saw X-Men 2 in theater.
I've seen all of them in theater. I mean, obviously, I have faults with every single one of those films.
Yeah. Oh, God, me too. So many.
I think Wolverine's the best done character in that entire series, overall.
I agree with you.
But I always wanted Logan to be
more than he was,
aggressive, and even in Days of Future Past, the fact that he never really gets to unleash on the Sentinels was super disappointing to me.
Yep. But see, that's where this movie, even though it hits the nail on the head finally, at that point it was too little too late. You can't say this is the last one and give me what I finally want. I've been waiting fucking 10 movies for this shit. I'm not saying that I dislike Logan. I do think Logan is one of the best Fox X-Men movies, but I don't think it's my it's not my favorite, but I do like it. I I think there's
I don't
things that
think
I
there's
would
any
have.
argument in the fact that it's the best one. Like, to me, it culminates in super emotional, like, end scene for Logan. The way they, like, tilt the cross down to make an X over his grave and everything like that, like, it just, like, that made me bawl. And, like, maybe I'm just overly attached to this character, and that's fine. Yeah, I'm not ashamed by any of it, but, like, seeing Patrick Stewart, like, play, like, a decrepit version of Xavier, and he's not in control of his powers, and, like,
That
all
was
that
my
stuff.
favorite. That was my favorite part about the movie was Xavier.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's just so well written and well done, and, like, I'm in love with the movie. I really, really, really hope that somehow we get something even close to the quality of that film in the future. And you know, if anybody's going to do it, I think the MCU will definitely be able to do it. But anyway, that's my number 3.
Nice. That's a good number 3. So, okay, so I'm going to predict your number 2 and 1. You don't say anything. I'll just predict it, and you can predict mine. So in no particular order. I think your next 2 are going to be, the Batman with Joker in it, the Heath Ledger Joker. I can't remember what it's called. Dark Knight Returns or something. Is that right? Dark Knight Returns, right?
Dark
Knight. Yeah, okay. And then the other one is going to be Joker, the last one, that one that came out like not that long ago. And what are mine going to be? One of them you already know because I already said it.
I honestly don't know. It's really hard to predict you because you're so all over the place.
I am.
With what you love and what you...
So these 2 movies for my last 2 are MCU.
My guess would be... My guess would be Guardians and Infinity War. No, not Infinity War. Civil War. But I don't know.
Okay, so you're half right. So my number 2 is Guardians. Yeah.
My number 2 is Guardians as well.
Ah, nice. I thought I was I just knew. Yeah, it's. I know you like those other 2, but I know that Guardians is your favorite MCU film.
It is.
Yeah, it's such a good movie. I saw it the night before I got married. We did the rehearsal dinner, and then me and my buddy Andrew went out and saw The Late Show.
You are such a lucky man to have such a cool wife to let you do that the day before your wedding.
You're not supposed to spend the night before with your wife. You're supposed to
I know,
the night before
still,
you're supposed to be. So me and my buddy went and we got some drinks and then
That's awesome, dude.
It was great. But yeah, I fucking love Guardians. I know we've talked about this. I think we talked about it last week or the week before that, like, that first trailer come out. I actually remember having conversations with you and I couldn't believe how much you hated it.
I just didn't. Everybody was like, I love the tone of this movie. It looks hilarious, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, it's so paint by numbers comedy flick. Like, it's so, like, I don't know. It just felt very predictable jokes wise. It just didn't work for me. And, like, I seen that trailer and I really thought, like, this movie is going to be the first major bomb of the entire MCU. I was like, I just don't get it. I don't get the tone of the film. I don't get the talking raccoon. I don't get a tree. What is this? What is going on here? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And then when I seen the film, and maybe this is why I love the film so much, is that I had zero expectations for it. Totally. My expectations could not be lower for the film. So when it blew my mind, it just made it that much better. Is because like I had no hopes or anything set for the movie. And it's probably why, like, I personally think that Black Panther is one of the worst MCU films, is because my expectations for that movie were so high going into it that I thought, like, oh my god, Black Panther is badass in Civil War. I can't wait for this movie. And then when I seen it, it just let me down in literally every way. Yeah. So I think it's great going into a movie with zero expectations. Yep. And it's hard to do because as fanboys or fangirls or whatever, you automatically get excited and hyped up for a movie, and it only can, usually not exceed your expectations. Your hopes are here, and it usually comes in somewhere below it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, so I actually started reading the comics, the Guardian, because at that time I was still reading comics like pretty regularly. I was like buying new stuff every Wednesday, and
Sure.
but yeah, I actually started reading the Guardians book at that time because I knew the movie was coming. So I wanted to get familiar with the characters. Once I like got into the book, I was like, yeah, this is like fine or whatever. It's not like amazing, but it was easier for me to buy those characters as what they were because I was reading them. But
Yeah.
I remember when I saw the trailer, I was the exact opposite of you. I was like, oh my
I remember.
God, this is going to be a smash. Like I originally thought, as I was reading the comic, I thought the same thing that you did without having anything to see in front of me. I was just like, I don't know how they're going to make a movie about this in this type of universe, and it's going to be widely accepted. Like I can't imagine that being the case. Like I don't see that happening. And then I remember when I saw the trailer, I was just like, this is going to blow up. Like this is going to be fucking humongous.
Yep.
And it ended up being huge, which is crazy awesome.
I think a lot of the movie is because of Chris Pratt, and like
me too.
I mean, obviously the writing and the directing has to be on par to be able to give Chris Pratt that kind of role, but Chris Pratt just kills that role in that movie, and like his comedy chops, his timing, his facial expressions, his likability, like everything in that movie just makes it that much better because of Chris Pratt. And the emotional impact of him losing his mom and everything in that movie just it's because of Chris Pratt. And I think if you put somebody else in that role, that movie wouldn't work as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we will never be able to say, but I mean, I do agree with you that the star of that movie is Chris Pratt for sure.
Like that is like I'm not one for celebrity like loving and like following like
me neither.
When people like I go to Fan Expo every year in Toronto, and like people line up to meet these celebrities and like get their autographs and like take pictures.
Don't give a fuck.
That's just not me.
Yeah,
I personally don't need that. I don't need an autograph from another person or anything like that. But if there was like a way that you could pay like I don't know whatever $100 to sit down and have a beer with somebody, Chris Pratt is somebody that like I would love to just shoot the shit with and just like I think he'd be hilarious and a great conversation.
I do too.
And like he just seems like a down to earth dude where like I would just like to like, and I'm obviously a huge Jurassic Park fan, so like also on top of that Jurassic World, him being in that, like I would have a huge discussion about that with him too. So he's just definitely somebody that I would love to have like a 20-minute conversation with and just get to know.
Yeah, I can't argue that one. I think Chris Pratt's fucking the champ for Guardians, especially. I mean, I think the dynamic of all of them together, especially when you kind of get to that like 3/4 of the way in and you start to see them be a team. Like I thought that was a really big, like a pretty awesome. Like I like that part of the movie too, right? Like the dynamic between them is really good.
It's just, I mean, the direction from James Gunn is just spot on, and like, Dave Bautista is absolutely hilarious in it, and Zoe Saldana is awesome, and like, it's just a great ensemble cast that like, you know, even though Vin Diesel just says Groot the entire movie, like, it works and it's awesome. So
I agree. I remember people hating on that when. Like they started saying there was going to be a movie. They're like, how do you even do that?
Yeah, it's creative and it's original, and I can't wait to see what he does with the third one. I'm so excited for that film. Yeah. Me too. That was my number 2 as well. So it's back to you for number 1.
Okay, well, my number 1 you should have got right because I said it earlier. So my number 1 favorite comic book movie ever is Thor Ragnarok. I just fucking love Thor Ragnarok. It's funny, like Thor was not even on my radar before this. Like he would easily rank dead last easily. Like I'd pick Hawkeye over Thor before this. But it's like I fucking love Thor Ragnarok. I love it. I love the bright colors. I love how Thor all of a sudden is like a fucking doofus, which I understand a lot of people who liked previous Thor being upset about that. I totally understand that. But to be honest, like dumb Thor, but like strong and not afraid of anything, to me is way better than stoic King Thor, who's just like out of touch with the earth.
He's not relatable when he's King Thor.
He's not. But I love like Taika's humor that comes out in that. Like everything from even that opening scene where he's in front of Satyr, the big demon guy or whatever, and his cage is spinning and he has to stop talking every time.
Hold on a second.
Hang on. Just coming back around.
Okay, go ahead.
But even like from that, like to like Korg and Meek, like those two characters to me are the fucking funniest thing in the MCU. Like I love both of them. I loved how they introduced or had Banner come into it, and like I like that again, the internal struggle with Banner not being able to change back and forth. I loved there were so many things that were just awesome.
Kate Blanchett's awesome in that movie.
Amazing. So good. I loved Hela. And I loved Scourge, even though he was underutilized. And I love Valkyrie too. Like and again, Loki again, right? Like Loki is fucking awesome in this too.
Like, I can't wait for Tom Hiddleston to be able to do Loki like solo, because not having to be a part of like a Thor, I mean, maybe it is, but like a Thor storyline, like letting him be like the main character, I think that show is going to be fucking awesome.
Me too. He's another one in the MCU that's like one of my favorites. Like I love Tom Hiddleston. He's so good.
So good. So well done. I should have known that was your number one, and I just, because we talked about it at my number five, I kind of just forgot about it. But yeah, no, I think that's, like I said, on any other given day, it could be in my top one.
It could be higher. Yeah.
And it's so hard to rank these. It's the same as ranking an album. Like, it depends on my mood. It depends on my day. It depends, am I drunk? Am I out with friends? Am I solo? Am I home alone? What time of day is it? What season is it? Like, all these factors come into play with music, and it's the same as film for me. On my mood and depending on what day it is, it could be my number one too. It's excellent.
Yeah, I love it, and it's one of those things that always has like since I've seen it, it's stayed at the top, and it's never been moved for me. I love it. Like it's weird to say that a Thor movie is my favorite movie, but it's my favorite comic book movie easily. I love everything about it.
It scares me to put that kind of pressure on Love and Thunder, like to know how loved Ragnarok is and to have that hype level for Love and Thunder. Like, I don't know how it could possibly meet that level, but if anybody can do it, I think Taika Waititi can. And like, I don't think Chris Hemsworth would have came back for a fourth movie if the script wasn't top notch.
I agree.
There was no reason he needed to come back after Endgame, and like he could have said like, "Hey, I met my contract and I'm out." And the fact that he's willing to come back for a fourth movie says a lot. So I'm very, very excited for that film.
Yeah, that's I'm excited for it as well. Like I also like the fact that he's aligned himself with the Guardians, especially Star-Lord, because like you said, like Chris Pratt's great, and him and Hemsworth together have fucking awesome chemistry. So like
I hope we get that.
I'll happily take that, even if it's just for half or a quarter of the movie. I'll happily take that.
I mean, I really do hope that the Guardians are a part of the film. I don't know what level of interaction that will be, and like
me neither.
There was rumors that like it's not gonna be as Guardians of the Galaxy as Thor 4, and it's gonna have a different storyline. And I don't know, like I definitely hope that between that movie and Guardians Volume 3 that there's major interaction in between those, Chris Pratt,
those
and Chris
properties.
Hemsworth.
Yeah.
I don't know. It set it up to be a very, very funny, interesting film. So I can't wait.
I'm excited to see. And did you hear they cast Melissa McCarthy to play the actor version of Hela? They're gonna like Matt Damon's back playing.
That's awesome. I did not know that. That is great.
Oh, man.
Melissa McCarthy is awesome.
Oh, that'll be so funny. And Matt Damon's back too to play Loki again.
That's great. That's great.
We just watched Dogma right before this, so Matt Damon's fresh on the mind. Dogma's a great movie.
I never really was that attached to Dogma. I think it's Kevin Smith's one of Kevin Smith's worst movies, but
no, it's so good. It's so good.
It's fine. But I mean, I like his other films better. I watched Zack and Miri after last week's episode, like right after we finished. Yeah, I love that film. So
yeah, I like that movie too.
But I definitely want to rewatch Clerks 2 after seeing all your movie picks. I was like, oh man, I got to rewatch that film soon. So
it's so
maybe
good.
tonight.
So good.
So my number one is obviously exactly what you expected. I can't not do it.
He's stripping in excitement.
It's The Dark Knight.
I thought it was Batman and Robin. Shit.
It was going to be Batman and Robin, but Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't available to say some very cheesy lines. So
freeze.
No, I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan. The Dark Knight, I think, is the most perfect comic adaptation that's ever been done.
Dark Knight's pretty good.
Heath Ledger is the best comic book villain we've ever had. I don't know how you will ever surpass that.
I will agree with you.
It's why he died after that movie, because I would have loved to see what the Dark Knight Rises would have been if Heath Ledger would have had a part in it, and Joker would have been a part of it. And
was that originally going to be the plan?
I think that was a rumor. From what I've read, Jonathan and Christopher Nolan hadn't started writing that movie yet. Anyway, but their plan was Joker to be a part of it. So
Heath Ledger died before that movie actually came out, right?
Yeah, he was dead before that movie was started. So
yeah,
I everything about the movie. I just finished watching it before we started recording this episode. Like nice. I was in the mood for it. The action scenes, I love Christian Bale's Batman. I think he's the best Batman that we've ever had.
Yep,
I know that's arguable by a lot of people, but.
By who? Who do they think's better? Michael Keaton?
Yeah, most people say Michael Keaton.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I like Michael Keaton, but I just think I buy Christian Bale as Batman a lot better, a lot more than anybody else.
It's a different time, right? Like it's hard to argue, and I love the original Michael Keaton Batman. I think Batman Returns is extremely overrated. Although Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman is bravo, but I don't think Batman Returns is very good. I like actually Batman Forever more than Batman Returns, but I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan, so to see Jim Carrey be the Riddler, that's my favorite part of that film.
Yeah.
Not that I think that Val Kilmer was a great Batman, and I mean George Clooney was even worse, but when you actually I don't know. When you think about the entire DC film, all of them together, I don't think anything has surpassed it. I don't think anything will surpass it. I think it's a great director coming with great actors. Michael Caine is a great Alfred. Heath Ledger is, one of my favorite villains. I see in the comments, they're talking about Thanos being the greatest villain, and like, yeah, that's arguable. 100%. Thanos is a great villain, and
I agree.
And they built that up over 23 movies, so you're getting a lot more hatred for that character. He was built up extremely. Heath Ledger did Joker in one film, and that's my argument for why he's better than Thanos is he didn't have a build up at the end of Batman Begins. Yeah, they showed the Joker card as
but that's nothing. That's just saying that's what's coming next.
Right, but Heath Ledger killed it in one film, and that was all we got. And personally, I just everything about this film I love, and I can't recommend it enough. And if anybody hasn't watched the Dark Knight trilogy, I don't know what you're doing, but that's a must-see.
I don't even like DC, and I like that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to be a comic book fan to enjoy those movies. I don't think you have to have seen any other comic book film to enjoy those. They're just good movies. And I mean, The Dark Knight is basically a crime heist, so
I quite like Batman Begins also.
Oh, Batman Begins is awesome. I think The Dark Knight Rises is the weakest of the three.
I agree. Dark Knight Rises is one I don't even consider like in the rankings. Like,
I think that's
like it's fine, but
they plan to have Joker in that film, and I think once Heath Ledger died, I think their plans for that film dramatically changed, and they came up with the best story they could, and it was fine, but it's nowhere near top tier anything.
Yeah.
So, Tom Hardy's great Bane, but you can't understand 95% of what he says, so that's a problem.
I didn't get into that one too much. That one didn't do it for me. So, and the Catwoman with the tactical glasses that just happen to look like cat ears. Give me a fucking break. Go home with that shit, Anne Hathaway. Fuck you, Anne Hathaway. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, people are saying Joker was built up for years in the comments, and like to me, he wasn't. I mean, Joker has been in the comics just as long as anybody, sure. But, I look at it more as everybody when Heath Ledger was cast shit on that casting. Everybody was like, why are you casting Heath Ledger as Joker? He was the gay character in Brokeback Mountain. What the hell were you thinking? Type thing. And there was a lot of that talk going on the internet at that time. And nobody expected him to knock it out of the park like he did. And
I agree.
Yes, the Joker of a character has been done very well in comic books and in animated series and so on and so forth. But nobody had knocked it live action like he did, and people say Jack Nicholson, so on and so forth, but
a lot
Jack
of people
Nicholson
say what
Astonishing
just said Mark Hamill, and a lot of people agree with that too.
Mark Hamill is a great Joker in the animated series, and in I think he did the video game. I'm not positive. I think he did the first video game.
Did you like the animated series?
Yeah, as a kid, I loved it, but I was always more into X-Men and Spider-Man as a kid. I mean, I liked the Batman animated series, but it was never like I always was more excited for Spider-Man and X-Men. But then as I grew older, the '89 Batman like really grew on me.
Yeah,
and that's what I fell in love with Batman as the '89 Batman. But The Dark Knight's the best Batman movie we've gotten, in my opinion. Yeah. I really hope that
I would agree with that.
Batman with Robert Pattinson is better and does more, and that'd be awesome. I'm always down for great films, and I take nothing away from anything that anybody tries, but there's films that are better than the others, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Robert Pattinson's another one that I would normally be like, I don't know about that one. But again, I stopped doing that after Heath Ledger, because I was one of those people that was like, I don't get how that one's going to work, but okay.
It's the same thing. He was in a role that a lot of people feel was very, this movie was geared towards women, the Twilight series, and like, why would you take that guy that was like a pretty boy in the Twilight series, and so on and so forth. And like, I don't know. I look at it more as he's an actor, and he was playing a role, and he was following direction from a director. And a lot of these actors are more capable than we expect them to be, and I'll give them as long of leash as they need to succeed in a role. So
there's always time. There's always time to make fun of them after they fail.
100%. If it's a bad movie, it's a bad movie, and I'll rip on it. And we've gotten plenty of bad comic book adaptations. So, we could do another podcast about our bottom 5 adaptations, and we could laugh about those. But again, even those bad movies, actors were following direction, and it's not necessarily their fault. It was a bad writer, a bad screenplay, a bad direction, bad whatever,
It'd probably be harder to give the bottom 5 than the top 5. Sure. There's a lot of bad comic book movies. We're gonna run out of time, right? How much time we got?
I don't know. It hasn't come up yet, so probably under a minute, probably. But
I would say under a minute.
Next week we'll be doing our impressions on Falcon and Winter Soldier, as the first episode will be next Friday. Thanks everybody for watching. If you haven't followed Matt on Instagram and everything, go to @customs by Matthew and follow him. You can follow me at Moose Milk Media on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. My link is in my profile. If you can, please follow me there.
Give a follow.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we're down to 15 seconds. So
15 seconds. Hot diggity.
But thanks, Matt. I appreciate your time as always.
Yeah, man. Looking
It
forward
was
to
a good
next week.
fun. Yeah, I can't wait to see what we think.
Peace out.